Hey everyone, I'd like to welcome you guys to the very first video gameplay of Shattered Skies. You can find us on our website at playshatteredskies.com. My name is Adam Skidmore, with my online handle being Artemis Knives, and I'm design lead on the project Shattered Skies. And this is a little short gameplay video for you guys. It's about 26 minutes long, and I want to talk to you about the world and kind of what Shattered Skies is as a game. Before we get into it, you'll notice right now that we're kind of walking around on a little bit of a hillside right now. We've got some leaves falling from the trees, and we've got kind of a beautiful environment going on. It's a perfect time to talk about our engine revamps and all our art and graphic overhauls that we've done. We now have a physically based renderer along with dynamic illumination, global illumination system, and basically what that translates to is better lighting quality and makes the world more believable in the way that it lights. We've really optimized the hell out of the engine. We're recording this video on a GTX 970 NVIDIA video card. All our settings are set to the highest. We're basically running in the ultra quality settings right now, and we have a 3770 processor for our hardware specs. Um, Basically, the level of detail in this is so much more than our prior games. Basically, the environment, the trees, the grass, the bushes, foliage, 3D rocks, all the vegetation, it's all basically rendered flawlessly at a very high frame rate now without sacrificing frame rate for detail. So you'll see as we're walking over here, basically the environment detail is just at a whole new bar compared to prior titles that we've been working on. And so let's basically get into it, and I'll kind of explain to you what's going on with the UI. And as you can see, we're running into fog here right now. So we're moving towards this crystal object right here, and around it are going to be basically alien resources. They're actually meteor resources, but basically the whole premise of the game is that the moon was impacted by a meteor, and it sent little shards of the meteor to rain down onto the planet. Humans at the time didn't know, but it was seeping down into the Earth's core, and then it caused these crystal growths to happen. And where the crystals are is basically where the aliens started popping out and basically taking over humans and causing them to have growths and abnormalities and basically mutate. One of the things about the crafting system I'd like to talk to you now, since I got the crafting menu open, is all these resources. They no longer take up backpack space. They're all super easy for you to use now. They don't drop on death. Anytime you find a crafting supply, you're going to want to keep them because they're not part of the main backpack here, as you can see. So I'm learning a recipe here. I've got a couple of the recipes in my backpack. Some recipes can be crafted anywhere in the world. Some require a specific crafting bench, which can be found in the safe zone or inside of, say, a gas station if it's got a garage or something like that. But we basically allow you to craft anywhere in the world now. You don't lose any of your crafting supplies, and they're in their entirely own separate menu pouch, so to speak. We don't have them taking up backpack weight, so it should never be a question now of, oh, should I pick up this crafting material because maybe I'll need it later. Nice and simple, one-stop shop now. You pick up every crafting material you see. It's in its own pouch, and when you need to craft something, craft away. You don't have to sit there and pull items in and out of your global inventory or make sure you've got it in your backpack. Just if you find crafting materials now, pick them up. They're valuable, and you never know when you're going to need to use them, but they're no longer part of your main backpack management. What this ends up doing is it allows you to focus more on picking up what I consider to be fun items in the game, like weapons, attachments, ammunition, something like this right here, commando backpack. And then basically we've got another commando loot bag right here, and I'll show you that here in a second. But first we're gonna step on over to this little water well right here, and we've got our empty flask. We filled it. Now it's dirty. We could choose to drink it, but you'll see right there we've got our stats on it, our health stat, our hunger stat, stamina, and then we've got a little bit of description that you can toggle between. As you can see, I'm clicking those right there. And if, say, I wanted to purify that right now, I'd either need some sort of a purification tablet, or I can actually use a campfire to essentially boil the water on. And so, if I need to craft a campfire, what I can do is I can then open my crafting menu here, cruise on over into survival supplies, and then I've got a campfire there. Of course, ignore the fact that it was red. We do still have, of course, a couple UI glitches and things like that. This is an uncut video. This is just raw gameplay, but we've got our fire now. And as you can see, we've got a little deployment particle. So now when you're holding say, medical supplies or deployable objects such as barricades and things, you now hold it in hand. And so you can see other players carrying it around, if they're about to deploy a barricade and things like that. So I just purified the water on the fire, and then I drank it. Of course, items can be cooked on the fire as well. It's best to eat a cooked version of an item compared to an uncooked version. Cooking it basically just increases the stats of it. You know, you're going to get more food out of it, maybe more health, maybe more liquids, depending on what it is. And so this canned peaches right here, I would be able to cook it, but we're having a little bit of a bug with cooking right now, and it's not wanting to display that option in the UI. I think it's something related to Flash, but you can cook, and that is an intended feature of the game. So let's open up this commando loot bag really quick and kind of explain what the heck this is. So you'll see right now as I open it, boom, it pops up with 4 little items, and you know that's entirely on us to decide what it does. But basically, it's a way for us to kind of give you a one-stop shop of multiple items. So you know, say you're looting like maybe a gun, maybe you find some ammo, you find an optic, etc. But this is a one-stop shop where say in that commando loot bag that you've essentially found a dead commando and you've got some of his high-end gear. So here we've got a new armor plate. It's a great time for me to explain that we no longer have multiple armor plates or anything like that. One armor plate ends up covering all the armor for your character. Now it counts as both your head and chest. Of course, cosmetic items now are entirely based on the cosmetic menu, so armor in the game visually is not actually affecting anything. So let's go here into our attachment screen. This is our new attachments menu. And so you can see all the available optics, even if you don't have them, but we can see that this AK-12 rifle right here has 3 barrel attachments, even though we don't have them on us. And then we've attached that scope to the weapon. Of course, first-person accuracy, you're going to be penalized, technically speaking, for doing hip fire and shooting in, say, a third person like I am now, and you can actually switch between shoulder to shoulder. The left and right camera gives you kind of a feel of exploration mode and putting the gun on your left or right shoulder to peek around corners and things of that nature. And back to the whole hip fire thing I was talking about, we do give you a nice little decrease in the amount of spread that the weapon has, as well as the amount of recoil and kick it has for aiming an iron sight like I'm doing right there. Of course, you can still spray and pray. You can hip fire and not use iron sights, but if you want that accuracy bonus, you're going to want to use iron sights. So I really only suggest hip fire from close range. You know, maybe no more than 15 meters away. And then, of course, if you're crouched or prone, you get an even better accuracy modifier and recoil reduction, making your gun more stable, making your bullets tighter, making it easier to hit the target that you're trying to hit. So here we are stepping into the city, and you can see there's kind of a little bit of particles, some newspapers blowing around. We really happy with the environment that we've got now with this overgrowth and foliage and the frame rate that we can achieve with the amount of stuff we've packed into the world. So here's a backpack right here. We've actually got lots of different kind of backpacks now. They're all sorts of different colors. We've broken them into kind of 2 different classes right now, as a military bag and a civilian bag, and they come in all sorts of different colors. I think that there's honestly about 15 of each of them, and each of them comes with a different amount of backpack slots. So each colored one, there is some variance to the bags now, where you'll be finding military pack, and it might be a brown one or a blue one or a red one or a green one. Depending on the pattern, and each of them has actually their own little unique amount of bag slots, so it's going to be fun for players to find out which one is the trendiest that they like, that also has the bag slots that they want. And so looting is a big part of the game, and so there we were just inside this little gas station picking up some common items. Of course, if you're in a military area, your odds of finding military style loot is going to be much higher. Of course, the game has no monetization, no microtransactions, no way of spending any real money to gain any sort of advantage, not even cosmetically, not anything. So that's one of the great parts about the looting aspect, is you've got to grind it yourself. You can't even actually trade any of your crafting materials, since they are bound to your character. So like crafting materials that I was talking about earlier, not even being able to drop them at all, it means that you've got to grind all your own stuff. It makes it so that we've got a nice trade economy that's going to work for guns and things like that, but resources will be an individual progression. So here we are back in this little gas station here, and we'll grab kind of a ham tin and some other things. We place that fire down there. The fire, of course, will heal you as well. It has multi-use. You can even cauterize a wound on it. So say you've been shot, or an alien has attacked you and you're bleeding profusely, you can then walk over and burn yourself on the fire to actually relieve yourself and no longer bleed. So right here you can see that there's this cool little particle effect going on. Kind of looks like there's heat and it's got a bit of a distortion to the light and all that. This is the whole terraforming aspect of the game, in that basically these crystal growths have been bursting up from the Earth's core, and anywhere they are, basically the aliens have been popping up, and humans are not safe wherever these are. It's our way of terraforming the planet, and the planet basically being taken over, and that's what creates these like foggy zones and things like that that you saw in the start. It's like the area is particularly contaminated, so to speak, with alienness. But it basically means that, you know, that area is becoming less civil for humans and much scarier because there's aliens roaming around. You can see all our interiors now, and I want to discuss our little lighting right here. So this is part of our new global illumination. It can create light from like outside, where it will create this light in the doorways. See how this area is much more illuminated, whereas that hallway was kind of dark. And it creates this really cool, much more realistic lighting effect where the way the light actually goes and bends around corners and you know, illuminates the brightest at windows, and then of course, you know, areas that without sun, you know, are going to be cast in shadow and dark, but our shadows look much more realistic now. And basically, the detail of all our buildings are now enterable. They've all got interiors. I want to say that 100% of buildings are enterable with interiors, but I know that can't be true. I know that there's got to be one that got missed or something like that, but we've been striving to make every single building enterable. And on top of that, we've tried to come in here with a wrecking ball for the most part in most of these buildings and just plow out walls, make it so you can get up on the roofs. We've got all sorts of little stairwells and things like that on the sides of these buildings that allow them to be climbed inside of. We basically really want the world to just feel like it's a giant jungle gym. It's of course ruined. You know, you've got crystals coming up everywhere. You've got all this great overgrowth. You can basically, like I'm doing right here, you could go AFK in this bush. Someone would walk by. You know, it really creates this cool environment where it's like, how many people with guns, fully combat capable of killing each other, can we really pack into a tight little space without them actually seeing each other? Meaning, you know, you might think you're in a little bit of a scuffle chasing some guy around here. I mean, because, you know, I mean, you could lose them on a corner, lose them through a couple of these bushes in a blink and have no idea where they are. And so it's like, really, how many people could we really pack in here and have them not realize just how many other people are surrounding them? I think it's going to make just some incredible shootouts, because we've got all these nooks and crannies. We've got scaffolding on the windows, and, you know, everything's enterable. You can see that this has got a collapsed roof right here, and there's an apple spawned underneath there. And, you know, just lots of wreckage and ruin. You know, we tried to add a lot of verticality to the map. You know, it comes back to that whole jungle gym type feel where we want you to climb on things. We want you to explore. If you're able to climb up on the roof like this, then basically when you climb up on the roof, you know, your odds of finding maybe something rare is going to be there. You know, if you go out of your way, the goal is that you're going to be rewarded for that in a sense. So check out this effect that's happening right now. This is kind of like the effect I was talking about with the hallways in our new global illumination. But basically, your eyes are going to adjust to the light, and so you can see your eye adjusts as you go and look at the bright light, and then, you know, your eyes will adjust, and you'll look back inside, and it ends up creating this very realistic lighting effect that we think is really cool. And so I think the world's just gorgeous, and, you know, as you can see, we're playing with great frame rate on this 970 right now. So really, I mean, as long as you have a decent computer, and of course decent is a relative term, you know, but as long as you have a pretty good computer right now, you should have no problems playing the game with a very playable frame rate, and it should be able to look gorgeous. And, you know, if you have a really high-end system, maybe you got one of these new 980 cards, you know, expect 100 plus frame rate, as long as, you know, there's no weird glitches happening. So yeah, it's just looking great now. So check out this interior and all that. We've got kind of this nice effect of the God rays coming in through the windows. I mean, you saw there was like a little notebook page that flipped through the air a second ago. We've got some just really cool particle effects. Just the level of detail now that we're able to achieve while not sacrificing frame rate is it's a remarkable increase compared to before. I mean, we can really pack a lot of detail into the game now with our engine, with a lot of people seamlessly in the world, without people loading and going through zone lines and transitioning and phasing in and out. And so it can just be this nice, open, living, breathing world where, you know, there's almost no rules. When I say no rules, we think of basically kind of our starting area is like a noob zone, and then like this town would be considered what's like a lawful PvP area. And then we've got an area of the map that we consider to be ground zero, kind of like where the majority of the meteors ended up hitting. And that's actually near our military base and our airport and stuff like that. We consider that to be ground zero, and that's kind of no man's land. Reputation is not recorded in that area, meaning normally, if you're a civilian and you open fire on another civilian or a lawman, you're going to be marked as an aggressor, and then that player is going to be able to kill you because you're an aggressor, or you'll be penalized, or not necessarily penalized, but you'll be heading down becoming a bandit if you're opening fire on civilians and other lawful characters. However, when you are in that fog zone, in the high-end military area, it's no rules. It's no rules, no holds barred PvP. Of course, nothing's stopping a lawman from putting a gun to another lawman out here and killing him, but does he really want to take that reputation hit if he's enjoying role-playing as a lawman and things of that nature? We tried to make, all our buildings very, very explorable, so here we are just wandering around in a couple more buildings. And, what's interesting is this building actually outside has another ulterior entrance to it. Basically from climbing up onto the windows. However, this area is too scaffolded up, so you can't actually go inside the windows, which it's likely that we'll end up pulling some of the scaffolding off of this building. I was thinking it was a different one, but we've tried to, like, if you find something like, say, that ambulance over there to the right, you can climb up on top of the little overhang on the movie theater right there. Here's another little water well right here, so we can fill that up. This one ended up coming with clean water right here, so this is a clean well. And so then I can just drink it immediately, no problems. So we'll go continue our adventure and exploring in the world right now. But basically, the environment is a huge part of these games, and if it feels kind of bland, it doesn't feel like so much of an apocalypse. And so we've really tried to capture that like eerie, just abandoned world theme where basically, yeah, everything's overgrown. The grass is just really kind of wild. There's no yard maintenance crews coming through during the zombie apocalypse, so lots of bushes are overgrown and things of that nature, and it ends up creating these great little nooks and crannies for everybody to hide in. And of course, this is another roof that's accessible. Like, really, we've really tried to make every single place accessible in the game. Like, we really just want you to crawl all over it, outsides of buildings, like this building that I'm looking at right there to the right and left. You can actually walk on little edges of it. Like, we want it to be, it is your jungle gym, that we want you to be able to climb up there. We want you to hide there. You might post up there with an assault rifle or a sniper rifle with you and your buddies and kind of play as a trapdoor spider and wait for people to come by or things like that. So here, inside this little garage right here, this is actually the crafting bench. So when I was talking about crafting earlier and it requiring a bench, this iron bulwark right here, see, requires 4 mechanical parts, 4 material parts. So I just walk within that proximity. Open up my menu, select it, and of course, since these materials never drop, you could potentially collect hundreds of these materials and at the drop of a hat, craft iron bulwarks whenever you need. So this also requires level 10. So you can see that we actually have levels in the game as well now. So some recipes are unlocked. As you level up, they require you to be a certain level. Other ones are just gotten from a vendor in town. We have a token currency that we're using for players to unlock their cosmetic items and unlock blueprints and things like that. So some are found in the world, others are found in vendors in town, but of course these vendors are only accepting in-game currency. And once again, you cannot translate cash into in-game currency. There's no way to advance your character by spending money. This is an old-fashioned game in that sense. You got to grind it if you want it. If you want it, spend the time and earn it. We think that's a really fair play style because these types of games, it is an apocalypse, and may the strongest survivor win. Basically, we don't feel like you should be able to actually spend money to gain an advantage over another player. So you can see here, I'm just clearing out some of these barricades really quickly since I don't really feel like stabbing myself up. And I probably don't want to get stabbed to death by this trap, but I'm going to disarm it really quick and show you that I can walk over it and rearm it. And I'm actually going to stab myself because I'm a bit of a masochist. Just got myself in the leg with a spike trap, but it's okay. For the greater good. Show you guys how it works. And yeah, so here we are up on another roof, and you can see over there to the left, it's got a nice hole in it. So say some bad guys are holed up in this building. Well, they're gonna have to defend multiple entrances with their clan. Our buildings aren't like tin cans anymore with just one way in and one way out. It's we really want you to have to guard multiple entrances. So you can't just be a trapdoor spider and camp atop a staircase or a stairwell. Because who else has played a game and had a hell of a time going up against a staircase shotgun guy? What are you gonna do? It's just like, how the hell do you deal with them? So rather than that, we've put little stairwells and things like that. Climb up on top of the roof, come in at the third story, maybe jump off the roof and fly in a window. It's basically up to you. Figure out some creative ways to dispatch your enemies. And so here we are shooting our rockets. Of course, there's no sound on shot right now, which I'm sorry about that, but let me show you a bullet drop really quick. There you go. So you can see all rocket launchers are actually skillful weapons, just like all weapons in the game. They are all considered to be skillful. There are no hit scan weapons, if you're familiar with the term. Everything does have a bullet travel time, so you will have to predict and actually interpolate the position of your enemy as you're shooting, because the bullets do have a travel time. It's not just point blank click. The longer you're holding the trigger, of course, too, you'll notice that the spread is increasing and things like that. This is considered hip firing right now, so you're not as accurate as if you're holding right click and using iron sight. But basically all the bullets and guns and projectiles, everything in the game has its own unique weight, and so you will have to interpolate people's positions if they're far away and you're shooting at them and they're running. You're going to have to be able to predict and give them a little bit of a lead. It ends up making snipers much more skillful, and assault rifles, and trying to weave a rocket through a window from 200 meters is not exactly just as simple as point and click. You might actually have to aim a little bit up higher than that window and get it in there. And that these games do need a bit of a skill ceiling. It shouldn't be so easy that you just point and click. We're trying to get away from just instant kind of I guess if anyone's familiar with the old Quake style arena, insta-gib arena with rail arena, things like that. The game's not so much about that. We'd much prefer you guys to explore our big map. As you can see, we got this big map, and we want you to use all sorts of different guns. Use shotguns for close range, use SMGs for medium range, use a pistol if you're in desperation, get a nice assault rifle with some scope, like a scope so you can zoom in and post up. But it shouldn't just be all about just sniping. And so actually our snipers in the game, they're not really super effective close range. We've got a nice system for where we can define damage based on distance, things of that nature. So the snipers are actually, they're most effective between 50 and 250 meters. And actually they're not as effective in the 1 to 50 meter range. What this does is it gets rid of that whole quick scope stuff. It's just not really cool when one gun is like this omni weapon. So use an assault rifle when it's time, use an SMG when it's time, and kind of really explore the space of weapons. So here we are with customize. This is our customization menu. Of course, these are all locked right now, but they can all be obtained either based on level or finding tokens in the world and spending them at vendors, things of that nature, or getting lucky and finding one of these in the world. And then, of course, if you do find it in the world, you could maybe trade it with your friends, depending on which way it was obtained. And so you can preview all these items, and then, of course, once they're unlocked forever. You don't need to go to a barber or anything like that. You can just change them on the fly. So if, say you and your clan, everybody wants like a red tech helmet or something like that, then you guys can all dress up. No cosmetics are actually affecting any armor values, any health, anything like that. It's purely cosmetic. It's just so that you can play dress up, because we think everybody should be allowed to be their own unique snowflake. It's kind of boring when everybody in the game is wearing all the same armor and the same exact outfit. So we like to give you lots of different options, and everyone can be unique. And you can even see we've got our two ultimate package items right there, the Chaos and the Redeemer. Those are just placeholder names, but that chest right there, that is part of the Ultimate or Platinum Game Edition bonus items. So if you're a supporter of the game early on, you can get access to that. We'd really appreciate it if you did support us early on. I think that Shattered Skies is really cool, and of course right now is the best time to buy it because it's the cheapest. The price is actually going to be increasing as it gets closer and closer to full release, because basically we don't want the game to be super cheap. We think that the game is definitely worth the money. It doesn't have monetization, no microtransactions, and actually we feel like we should have no problems curbing cheaters with a paid game. We've already had our anti-cheat in testing for quite a long time in Aftermath, which is a free game, and it's been doing great. So we're really looking forward to putting it to the test in paid Shattered Skies. So here we are. I'm going to show you guys night really quick. That is our shattered sky right there. That is the moon that got impacted by the meteor. And to give you an example, this is night. So this is about as dark as it gets. We don't really want users to have to feel like they've got to go and turn up their contrast or go and adjust gamma or go and get some third-party program. I'd really honestly prefer that you don't melt your eyeballs out trying to turn up settings so that you can see at night. I'd rather just you be able to play at night and enjoy it. Of course, visibility is a bit lower. That's definitely a given, but it adds kind of another little dynamic of somebody might run by you here that you might not notice that you would have noticed during the day, and so suddenly everybody gets even closer, more tightly packed in the city. So there's still some visibility in the moonlight, but it's not full visibility, but it's also not pitch black to the point where it's not fun. Nothing's worse than trying to play and the game is so dark that you're actually considering, turning on gamma or something like that. So that's basically it. I hope you guys really enjoyed our first test. See you in Shattered Skies. PlayShatteredSkies.com, guys. Adam Skidmore out. Take care.